Welcome to Phillip Island, Victoria in Australia. What a setting we have for this great sporting contest, the Little Penguin Sea to Dune race. Nervous moments always as they gather on the beach, the tension mounting, and away they go. There's the defending champion, wearing his familiar navy blue and white, great waddling style. Another pre-race favourite though, losing touch with the pack. Maybe that's why. A few too many fish in the day's feeding. There's a familiar face, Skip McIntyre, 8 times a champion back in the 90s, a very successful coach now, keeping a keen eye on proceedings. This the leading group, 1 or 2 still able to put on a show for the camera, others just ploughing straight over it. Some resorting to shortcuts. Sad that cheating has crept into this beautiful sport. The judges will have a look at that. But up at the front, the pace is relentless, closing in on those sand dunes that will offer a bed for the night. The fatigue starting to tell. Who's got the finishing kick up on the outside? What a turn of pace from that one, whichever one it is. No answer from the rest, and he takes victory. What a win. There we are, into the Burrow, building an extension with his winnings, and back tomorrow to try and defend his title here on Phillip Island.
Welcome everybody to another beautiful night of Penguin Live TV. As you can see, we're in for another dark and gloomy night of penguins here. I am Ranger Viv, and we have got with us Ranger Sue. Come in and tell us what you're doing tonight.
Hello everyone. How are we all tonight? I am going to be reading through your wonderful questions and some of your wonderful comments, and thank you actually also for some of the lovely comments people do leave on the chat. I'll be letting you know very soon how many penguins we did have come ashore last night. So have a little think, put your thinking caps on, and get your answers in, and we'll see who will win the virtual chocolate for this evening.
Absolutely. Thank you, Sue. Alrighty, so before we talk too much about our penguins, I would like to talk about the traditional owners of the land that we are on here tonight. So we are on what is known as Malau, which was the name given to Phillip Island by the Bunurong peoples, who are the traditional owners here of Phillip Island and much of the Bass Coast heading up towards the city as well. And they had lived here for thousands and thousands of years before European settlement, and a really important part of their culture was the conservation and care that they took of the land. So I'd like to pay my respects to the elders past, present and emerging, and also pay my respects to anyone of original or Torres Strait Islander descent watching here tonight as well, because we wouldn't have the country that we have here without everything that you and your ancestors have done to get us here. So thank you. I would also like to thank all of you guys for watching our live Penguin TV with us, whether you're here night after night for the over a year that we've been doing this on and off, or whether this is your first night. Watching the penguins with us is a really great way to support us as well. Here at Phillip Island Nature Parks, we're a non-for-profit organisation, and we are generally tourism funded. So that means everything that we do on a day-to-day basis through our education, through our research, as well as our conservation work, comes because of the profits that we make from selling tickets to the parade and our other venues, from souvenirs, and then from donations as well. I know a lot of people love our adopt a penguin or adopt a bandicoot or a seal or koala, which you can donate or do that from the link in the description as well, which is a really great way to support us if you can't come in. Unfortunately, at the moment, we're only open to guests from regional Victoria, and we are really hoping that it won't be too much longer until we can open up Victoria-wide, Australia-wide, and then worldwide again, and have the parade running the way it should be, with loads of people being able to enjoy our beautiful little penguins. I have one other little thank you I want to do before we start to a couple of our wattle watchers. So I'm going to give them a little stalk over here and go have a look for them. So these two people who I'm looking straight down on, we have got Wattle Watcher Rachel and Wattle Watcher Anne, and they are visiting us, which is great. It's nice that they're able to finally come join us in person and view our beautiful penguins. But they brought us in some chocolates and a really nice card to say thank you for running this, which is just the absolute cutest thing in the world. And we're hoping to time it so they can give us a wave, but we'll see how it goes. So I'm going to zoom out a little bit. Here we've got Sonia. Ranger Sonia is Penguins Plus Ranger tonight. And hello, Rachel and Anne. Thank you guys so much for all your lovely support and your little chocolates. I cannot wait to have some chocolates on my drive home tonight.
Thanks, Mom.
Very keen. Alrighty, so now we wait. So it's quite flat out there tonight. So I was hoping that means we'd see some rafts, but I have only seen a couple of really small rafts. So a raft is a group of penguins in the water getting ready to come in and cross the beach. So they form these groups and it looks like a raft as they all float together. And they're all chatting away to each other. And if you're new here tonight, guess what sound they make? You will have seen it in the comments. It is a huck, and that is kind of sounds like a duck quacking as they go huck, 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 and going, hey guys, come with me. Don't make me cross the beach by myself. I would really like some company, because it is really scary to cross the beach. They are the world's smallest penguin. They're about 30 centimeters tall. They're teeny tiny and they're absolutely gorgeous. Being so small means they are open to predation much more than our other penguins around the world. Well, not around the world, around the southern hemisphere. So you can kind of see the raft there just a little bit. So they are scared. So being a small bird and crossing the beach on a light coloured sand, being so dark, they're really, really exposed. So they're absolutely terrified of birds of prey. So what they're doing is they've waited for sunset, because they're very smart, and sunset is when the birds of prey all go to bed. So then they can cross through this cover of darkness, and they've also going with their safety in numbers as well, just in case there is any birds of prey hanging around. They've got their safety in numbers to just make them look a bit bigger and a bit scarier and less of an easy target for any birds of prey. And so here we go, they're just about to hit these rocks here, which is lovely. And here we go, we have little penguins, and this is the first time I've done the live stream where the penguins have come at a good time while I was talking, instead of coming in 10 minutes or way before I'm ready. So we also, why is this penguin like belly hopping? I'm gonna keep an eye on him, make sure he's not got a limp or anything happening, but he's just shuffling along on his belly. And we can see a couple of the more shy penguins who are like, oh, I don't know if I'm ready to cross yet. And these other penguins who are like, yes, let's go, it's fine. It is a high-ish tide tonight, which makes them feel a lot more comfortable as well, because it means they don't have quite as much of the scary beach to cross. So it's a lot more comforting for them. So, if you want to make your guess for how many penguins were in that little group as well, have a go. We'll see if Ranger T has the time to tell us how many there were in there. I am still watching that penguin, and I'll talk about one of them's run back in just a sec. But before we do, I would like to know, Sue, what last night's penguin numbers were.
Okie dokie. So we've got some good guests here. So Kath said 628. Ingrid said 758. What do we got? Belinda said 750. But the total of penguins last night was 817. So some very good guesses, guys. You're getting very good at counting penguins.
Absolutely are getting very good at counting penguins, which is what we love to see. So every time we have a limping penguin, everyone gets worried, and that's understandable. You see an animal limp, your first instinct is to be worried, but it is common-ish for our penguins to be a little bit limpy sometimes, and we have a couple of regular penguins who come up along this highway here who are quite limpy as well. So we have one that we've got one ranger on every single night who's trained in wildlife first aid, and a few of them they know this penguin's microchip code just by looking at it, go, oh, it's just this one, because he limps and he gets caught to be checked up on so regularly. They're like, oh, it's just this penguin. Because we have got people who are able to check on these penguins all the time. As we are in the breeding season now, we won't take a limping penguin out of the colony unless there's something else wrong. So if they're a healthy weight, and if they don't have any obvious wounds, we're going to assume that they're fine. If they've managed to swim home, there's probably not a lot else happening there that could be a problem if there's no, obvious entanglements or open wounds or anything really bad. Because what can happen if they break something is it could heal, and it could heal wrong. Happens with us. Like if we don't see a doctor, our broken arm's going to heal funny. Same with if they break something, and that might lead to a permanent limp, which is what we know has happened to a couple of our little penguins here. So if you see a limpy penguin, do not fret. We have got rangers and we've got guests who no doubtably will tell our rangers if the rangers hadn't noticed as well, and we'll get to have a bit of a look at him. Let's see, was it you? Let me have a big old zoom in on you. Look at you. Hello.
Suited to you, got a number for that first group.
Doesn't look limpy, he just looks like he's hanging close to the ground. Maybe he's just a wuss. So what do you reckon, limp or wuss? He's come in early. Like usually the ones who are really
along okay.
Yeah, he looks fine.
He's very round.
He is. He's very chubby, which is what we love. So I know we also I keep seeing in the comments people asking if we have any chicks yet, and I haven't had another update from our research department yet. Unfortunately, I am checking them very regularly for you guys, and I know the other presenters on the live stream are also looking for you. So as soon as we know, we will tell you, but there's got to be chicks, right? Like surely we've had so many shell gritters, there's got to be chicks, but there's just none that are visible yet. I had a bit of a chat with Sue before we started because she gets to spend a lot more time out in the colony than I can right now, and she said that she hasn't seen any fluffy chicks yet, which is very upsetting, but it's about what we expect this time of year. Hello penguins. So I reckon a couple more weeks and we'll start seeing chunky fluffy penguins hanging around, and hopefully they'll be very generous to us and hang out in a good spot to be visible. We'd like to point out as well that we know that there is a mark on this camera and we are working on it, but it's a really tough, stubborn mark that we're not able to remove at this stage, which is why we get this annoying glare right in the way, interrupting our beautiful penguin bottoms. Now, did we get a number from T for that group?
Not yet.
No, that's okay. T's busy. She doesn't have to cater to us if she doesn't want to. She can do her other job, which is, the actual counting, which is a really important part of our research. We have been counting these little penguins every night. Well, okay, can we even say every night anymore? There's been a couple of patches in lockdown where we've gone a few days where hello penguins. Haven't been able to, but we've been counting them just about every night since the late 1960s. So it's been a huge effort. It is the longest still standing bird study that we know of in Australia, at least. And it's just a truly amazing effort. So we count them every night for 50 minutes, so just under 1 hour, starting from when the first group of penguins crosses the beach. So first group of 5 penguins. That way it's nice and consistent for us. Now this is maybe that's the limpy penguin. Maybe he didn't cross. Maybe he ran back. Weird. This is a sort of penguin group that is a challenge for you because it's a much something spooked him. Oh, nothing for me to see spooked them, but something definitely spooked them. It's always so upsetting when you see them run from something, but you don't get to see what caused them to run. I want to see if this limpy penguin is limpy or not. Because he was walking a bit differently. Like usually you don't see them sort of like shuffling almost on their belly quite so much as that one was. That's okay. And we've got a little bit of our beautiful pond still here, which is just lovely. because the penguins love. So penguins have been completely adapted to their life in the ocean. They spend about 80% of their time in the ocean. They sleep in the ocean when they need to, as well as, just about everything that they need to. Pardon me. So when they can swim, even on this little tiny pond on their way home, they're going to swim because it's just so much more natural to them than walking. So their knees are fused in a way that they can't bend their knees to walk normally. Their center of gravity is so low. Their knees are up past their belly buttons. And they're chubby. They're really chubby. So it's really, really tricky for these little penguins to walk. And so they take lots of rest breaks because of that. And that means they need to, if they can swim, they're going to swim because it's just that much easier. I think Sue may have gotten a number from Ranger T for this big group.
This big group was 109.
109 penguins in this big group. That was a good one. That's what we want to see, isn't it? Okay. And when they've got 109 penguins, it's hard to see if you can keep track of a certain limpy dude, but that's okay.
Would you like a question, Vic?
Oh, I'd love a question.
Okay, so Jason's got a good question. Are penguins solo hunters?
Oh, that is a really good question, and it's a really interesting one too. So we used to always believe that they were solo hunters, but we actually have video footage of them hunting kind of in small groups. So, camera focus please. So what we now believe is that they do usually hunt on their own, but they might often encounter other penguins while they're all, if they all are going and looking for a big school of fish to hunt through that group, then sometimes they're going to encounter other penguins. So we don't think they hunt in the groups. We think they hunt solitary, but often go to the same restaurant. That is a really good one. And that's one of the things that has been really hard for us to be able to look at, because if we're putting a GPS tracker on maybe 5 penguins at a time, what are the chances those 5 are all hunting together? So being able to have a little GoPro on the penguin to actually get footage has been able to show us a lot more than what we had previously known. And look at them all, they just keep coming. This is brilliant. So that's a really good question, Jason. Thank you. All right. And we've got another giant group heading over the rocks already. Oh, this is going to be a good night. Last time, oh gosh, I'm pressing weird buttons on the cameras now. Let's not do that. All right, have you got another question, Sue? I'm all for questions.
Yes, Karen's got a question about snakes.
Ooh,
and it is,
I love snakes.
Do snakes ever take penguins?
So we are lucky here on Phillip Island. Well, lucky, depends on who you are, how you feel about that. We only have one species of snake here, which is your copperhead. And so although they are one of the most dangerous species, they are not that big. So they're not big enough to take a penguin, absolutely. They are, on the other hand, big enough to take an egg or a chick if they wanted to, but they're not, they're pretty shy. They tend to eat like frogs and lizards and mice and stuff like that. So the chances of them being able to get past an angry penguin parent to get at eggs or chicks are pretty slim. So that's just unlikely to happen. Because they are really shy. So I know for us, anytime we're out doing work in the field, if it's a hot day and we're going through long grass, all we do is stomp. So we just walk with quite heavy footsteps, and that is generally enough to ensure that we're not going to have any snakes, because they're going to get spooked away from those big stomping noises, because they don't want to deal with us any more than we want to deal with them. Well, unless you're a weird person like me who'd love to see them. So we'll see. And another thing I wanted to talk about a little bit as well is our beautiful shearwaters. They have come back. If you haven't seen it on our Facebook post, yay! It's definitely worth having a look, because we've got like a video of them all flying overhead, and it's just gorgeous, because this camera does not pick it up. But basically what they do is they come home within the same day around on the windiest day around grand final night every year. So we can just about predict when they're coming in, which is lovely. Multitasking is so hard. And this year they came on time, which is great. And right now what they're doing is they're looking for their mate. And they're going to do all their courtship behaviour before they mate. And then they're going to mate probably, around early November. And then they're going to go off for a little honeymoon where they're going to go eat lots of krill off the ice shelves down near Antarctica. And then they'll come back after about 2 weeks or so, and then they'll come lay their egg, yes. Each pair will lay one egg, so it sounds weird saying they're all going to lay an egg. But that's exactly what they're going to do. And then they're going to look after that egg, raise their chick, raise a big, fat, healthy chick. And then they're going to continue their migration back towards the Aleutian Islands while their chicks are still here. The chicks are going to have to lose all their baby weight and learn how to fly without any help from their parents. And then magically their chicks are going to all leave around the same time, the windiest time around Anzac Day, I believe. Is it Anzac Day that they leave? I got the wrong one. Around about Anzac Day. Sue's like, yes, no, maybe. Around about Anzac Day, and they'll all leave and they will find their, well, not their parents, but they'll find the group of Shearwaters and all just join that flock and all migrate together, which is just incredible. They've got this huge migration. They do a little figure of 8 with Australia being like right in the middle, so it's a very awkward figure 8, which is very big up here, and then a little bitty one as they go on their honeymoon to Antarctica, which is just beautiful. I don't think we'll be able to show them on the here, but I'm going to give it a shot anyway, because why not? Because we'll often see them flying over the east stand, over the main stand over here. Oh gosh, there's no way, it's too dark now. Oh well, worth a shot. Because we get about 1.5 million of them come to Phillip Island each year, so we get to see them all and see thousands of them flying overhead as they have been fishing. So it's just beautiful. So when you're able to come down here, and if you come over any of those days when, you know, the 6 months that we've got Shearwaters here, it's always worth going out and having a look for them, especially on the days when they all arrive and all leave. It's just beautiful. All right. Do we have any more questions, Sue?
Yes, we do.
So you're going to quickly learn I like questions.
Okay. So Chris wants to know, how old are penguins before they go to the ocean?
Great question, Chris. So our penguins, they grow very quickly. So they'll start losing their cute fluffy chick feathers at about 6 weeks. And then by about 8 weeks, they're going to have all of their shiny, gorgeous blue adult feathers. And between 8 to 12 weeks, depending on how lazy they are, they will go and fledge. So yeah, between 8 to 12 weeks, and then that's it. They have a penguin chick gap year where they go to the ocean, spend the whole year out in the ocean, learning to fish, learning where to fish, how to find their way home, where the best places to fish are, and all of those sort of things you need to know to be a very healthy, successful penguin before they come home. So it's a really hard first year of life for the penguins, and I know I've been on the wrong camera. Oh my gosh, guys, I'm so sorry. I'm so bad at this, but that's the camera I want to be on now, so there we go. So it's a really hard first year of life for the little penguins, and because of that, we do unfortunately only get about 15% survive the first year, but it sounds worse than it is. It's like turtles, how they just lay, a ridiculous amount of eggs with the expectation of only a couple will survive. It's quite similar to that. Because the penguins, the colony here on Phillip Island isn't under threat right now. So we've removed foxes from the island. Thanks to the Penguin Foundation, we have removed the housing estate from in the middle of their road, in the middle of their colony. And we've been able to do so much to look after these penguins that their biggest threats are now generally sort of pollution, plastic pollution especially, and troubles with any food such as overfishing, but that's something that we're working strongly on as well. I wonder if this is my limpy friend over here. Oh, maybe not. He's like, jump. I think he knew it was on camera. He's like, don't look at me, leave me alone. What is this? All right, now this time I'm going to actually change both cameras to the main camera screen so you guys can actually see what I'm looking at. See, that's the problem with it being a live stream, is you guys can't yell at me when I'm doing something silly. And I'm just so used to people being able to yell at me when I'm doing something wrong. Okay, I want to see if we have any penguin mating behaviours or cute behaviours or anything. But apparently not. That's all right, we'll head over and we'll see if we have any more rafts getting ready to come in. While I'm doing this, I would like to put a reminder that daylight savings is tonight for us in Victoria and a couple of other areas of Australia that I can never remember who else does it. Which means our live stream on Monday and then onwards is going to start an hour later. So on Monday, our stream will start at about 7:40 instead of 6:40-ish. And we get asked a lot do the penguins notice daylight savings? And it's a really interesting question because no, they don't, because they don't have a clock, they don't have a little watch telling them the time. They just know it's sunset, and it's still sunset, and sunset changes by a couple of minutes sort of every night or so. But for us, it changes a lot. I don't know about you, Sue, but I know I spend oh, is that a Ricali? Ooh, hello, stop it, get back here. I know I spend at least a week or two telling people penguins are going to be here at 6:30, and they'll look at me going, it's 6:30 now. I'm like, oh, I'm still on daylight savings time. I know today I had a bit of a panic going, I thought daylight savings was it's a second today, and it's usually a Sunday. So I'm like, I had to Google what time the sun set to make sure I was going to arrive to work on time and not an hour late or early or anything like that. So yeah, that's my little ramble about daylight savings. But yes, please do not stress out on Monday when we're not here at 6:30. It is just because of daylight savings, and we're waiting for the sun to set. I've got another little group, and we've just got a couple of weird penguins who are just really not feeling like there's any danger. This one's just hanging on his belly on the beach. I know it's a small tide and he's close to the edge of the water, but still, like, what are you doing, buddy? Get out of here. Go home. So more and more often we've got another one. Got another one behind this little sand mountain thing that we've got going on. He's like, I'm good. That's fine. All right. And we've got all of our penguins preening. Okay, so I'm not even giving you information. I'm just talking. But do we have more questions, Sue?
Yes. So I might just quickly mention this. So yes. Someone, and I apologise because I've lost it in the chat, was asking if the shearwater were mutton bird. And yes, the shearwater are known as mutton bird. And also they're known as Bayarden, forgive me, in Bunurong. So to our very special Bunurong here on Phillip Island, they are Bayarden.
Yeah, Great, Sue. Thank you. I always there's a few words in Bunurong that I know, and there's quite a few, more than a few, that I'm not comfortable with my pronunciation of, and Bayarden is probably one of them that I'm just like, I actually have no idea if I'm doing that right.
We do our best.
But it's great because, we have the Shearwater Festival every year, which was renamed to the Bayarden Festival as well, which is just beautiful way to just reconnect to the real history of Australia as well, and bring it back to what it is. Because the Bunurong people, they didn't live here year round. They would come here seasonally, and they'd be coming here now. They'd travel through when the shearwater's here, because we'd have, 1.5 million of them come here. They were a great food source. So the Bunurong people would harvest eggs, and they would eat shearwaters and through this time of the year before they head off for the rest of the year. And that was a completely sustainable way of surviving here, because there was just so many of them. They weren't any threat to the population. It was a really great way to do it. So although shearwaters, mutton birds and Bayarden are a protected species, the traditional peoples can get permits to do things traditionally, including being able to still get shearwaters and hunt shearwaters and do all their traditional hunting practices in different parts. I don't know if we have any of that on Phillip Island, but I know that there are some places, I think towards Tasmania, where they are still able to do that, which I think is great. It's really important that they're able to connect to their heritage and do things the way that their ancestors did after having their practices blocked for so long. So I think it's just beautiful that we can do that. Okay. I'm so upset that I don't get to see clear views of penguin bottoms anymore. It's a weird sentence, but I'm fine with that. Okay, let's have a look and see if we have got any more rafts coming in. Oh, hello, penguin. Okay, let's turn that camera around. That's why I start to mess up, as I try to be so clever. I'm like, I'm going to turn this camera around quickly, and then I'll forget to actually do the rest of my job. I had something else. We've been asked a couple of times as well, while we're on traditional names, do we know the traditional name of penguins? And I don't.
I've tried to source it.
Sue's tried to source it?
As well, a friend who I thought might know. And she, we're still in the process of finding that out.
That's great. Thanks, Sue. So Sue is our representative for the Reconciliation Action Plan of our department here at Phillip Island Nature Park. So she is very knowledgeable on all of these sort of things, which is really fantastic. One thing as well that we get asked commonly is, do we know any Aboriginal stories? And the thing about that is, was that a penguin or the Ricali playing around? The thing with that is traditional stories are really sacred to Aboriginal peoples, and we can't just tell a story that we've taken from them without really having proper permission, having a really deep understanding of that. So I've heard, and I'm sure Sue knows, a lot of beautiful stories, but we can't just go around repeating them because they are really sacred, and we do need to have permission and have a proper understanding of how to tell them. So I know that we prefer to have traditional stories told by the people whose stories they belong to as well. So I hope that you don't think that we're ignoring those questions. It just, as a white European Australian, I guess, is it's not my place to start telling these sort of stories, unfortunately, as beautiful as they are. And we do what we can to bring people over to tell us and be able to spread those stories for us where we can. Okay, do we have any more questions, Sue? I've made it hard for Sue. Sue's like, I'm not used to being asked this many questions. You're so used to Jordan and Megan who ramble on and on. And I can ramble.
JD brought up a question about where have our votes gone for Australian Bird of the Year, and I'm not too sure about that. We might have to source the answer to that. Do you know anything about Australian Bird of the Year?
I do.
There we go. Take it away.
So I'm terrible. I know that a lot of the Wattle Watchers, so I believe it's The Guardian is running the Australian Bird of the Year, and they've done it differently this year where at the end of each day, the 5 with the lowest amount of votes get knocked off, which is interesting. And I know we're all penguin obsessed and love penguins, but I've got a very special place in my heart for the more vulnerable species. So I was voting for hooded plovers until they got knocked off, and the bushstone curlew, because I think that they are incredibly special. It's something that we work really hard here on Phillip Island to protect them, because they need a lot more protection than the penguins do, as sad as that is. Let's head over there. Oh gosh, what was that button? Oh God, what is happening? And so the penguins, they're doing fine. They did need a lot of protection way, sort of in the 80s and further on. But at the moment, our real areas of focus are working on some of these more threatened species. So, we've talked about the bandicoots, and we've talked about the curlews a little bit, and the hooded plovers a bit. So that's where my personal votes have been going. But they've both been knocked off now. So I can't remember what I voted for last time. But yeah, it's one of those things where most of the votes end up going towards sort of the birds you see every year all over the place commonly. So like eagle-eyes and your maggies and stuff like that. And we're all like, no, get the threatened species in because they need as much awareness as possible, because the more awareness they have, the more people who are likely to help donate and fund and protect our beautiful endangered species. And I keep pressing the wrong buttons. So yes, Sue here, lovely, not very technological savvy, so she's like, I got no idea what you're talking about, Viv. No clue.
I'm learning.
She's learning.
Jean would like to know, is Ricali, it's a water rat?
Yes, it is.
Yes.
Absolutely. So the Ricali is the scientific name, and I believe the traditional name, or the traditional name in one specific language. There are many, many Aboriginal Torres Strait Island languages across Australia, and I believe Ricali is the traditional one somewhere. And I personally think it's a way cooler name than water rat, because rats have a bad name, and Ricali are beautiful. Really, they're like native otters. They are just gorgeous. Okay. I feel like Sue hasn't given me a 5-minute warning, so I'm kind of scared.
I was thinking about it.
You're thinking about it? I'm like, I feel like I've been talking for a long time, and I'm usually someone's telling me to shut up by now.
Oh, we just like listening to you, Viv.
Oh, that's sweet. That's sweet. I mean, I do eventually run out of things to say. No, that's not true. That is not true at all. Oh dear. I can't remember. There was something else. I'm really I want to see penguin babies more than anything. I would like it to become a couple more weeks and where we have the penguins coming out of their burrows around here. And look at you. What are you doing? Hello. You're just hanging out near your natural burrow going, stop looking at me. Okay. I'm going to head over. I'm going to fix the highway camera so it's actually facing the right direction so I can see. So what I find really interesting, and this is coming from a very observational basis and not really having any, oh hello penguins, any scientific evidence, is for a few weeks we had quite a regular visit from different kinds of predators. And now that we're back open to our wonderful regional Victorian visitors, we haven't had many birds, any predators hanging around. So during the big big lockdown last year, we didn't really have any predators hanging around either. So I think it's really interesting that this time we did. So what have we seen? I saw a barn owl. I saw a cat with Megan. We saw the cat a few nights in a row. There was what we believe was a goshawk. I had 2 kelp gulls hanging out way too late last week, but that was when we had guests around. And so it's fascinating, and it sort of wonders the question whether the predators learnt that there are less people. Because I always tell guests, yes, we've got predators around, and yes, some of them would like to take a penguin, but are the predators silly enough to hang around our beach, which is lit up with lots of people here viewing them, when they can go to a different beach where there's still penguins and without the people around to bother them? And that kind of makes me feel like, yeah, they probably do. There probably are more predators around this time of night around other beaches, but we just don't see them because they avoid us because we're noisy and annoying. So I think that's something really interesting. It'd be really cool if we can get sort of more actual research, although that'd be a really difficult thing to research, to have a look at and see whether or not there is any obvious difference, or whether we just had a really random and really lucky few weeks where we just got to see a lot of cool predators. So I don't know. What do you think, Sue? All right, Sue, do you have any good predator stories? Have you watched anything weird?
Over the years, my years here. One night I was down on one of the main stands and it was sunset. And the little penguins were just starting to kind of come, or they were probably about at the water's edge, and a large Pacific gull came swooping down out of the sky and was trying to grab a penguin from the water's edge. I had a whole group of grade 2-year-olds, whole group of grade 2s sitting on the stand, and they were all screaming, going, oh no, the little penguin's going to get eaten by the bird. And so I had to reassure them, no, it's okay. They're not going to get eaten. It'll be fine. And the whole time I was thinking, oh my goodness, please, Pacific gull, don't eat the little penguin. And luckily, the little penguin was too clever, ducked under the water, and off the bird went, and all was good.
I could not imagine. It's one thing talking to adults about cute animals being eaten, and it can be a delicate subject depending on who you're talking to, and some people are like really fascinated and some people are just like, I don't want to know. But talking to children about the possibility of a penguin being eaten is really difficult because, I remember being a kid, my mum had a turtle and she bought just some little fish for the turtle to eat because that's totally natural. And I'm like, Mum, I'm naming the fish so you cannot feed it to the turtle. And now I'm just totally different as I've grown up and gotten educated on how these sort of things work. But it's really, really hard. I can't imagine trying to explain to a bunch of grade 2s, especially because I'm the opposite, whereas I'd be like, go on, do it. Show me something different. Show me something exciting.
It was nearly a David Attenborough.
Exactly. It would be, wouldn't it? So I'd be like, hey, yeah, go on. But then it's like, yeah, don't do that in front of kids. It's like the night when we had the ridiculous fog and we had, 28 penguins across the beach?
Maybe 26.
Maybe 26?
There wasn't as many as 28.
Okay. I had the best night of my life because it was just so different and exciting. But then there was all the school holiday families who did not have such fun because, how do you explain to children that penguins just aren't here today because they've got better things going on? They're a bit scared about it. So Always interesting. So, for anyone who's not familiar with our wonderful fog night, is the penguins use landmarks to find their way home. They go to the same home every single time, and I'm doing it again. No, I'm not. Okay, cool. And so, because of that, when the fog is so heavy that the penguins can't see their landmarks, they just don't come home. They don't need to come home every day. In fact, most of the time they're not coming home every day unless they've got really, really young chicks who need that really regular food. They tend to come home every couple of days, and this was a few months ago, so they were coming home every couple of weeks at this stage. So instead of having, I think what we're having around 600 most nights that week, we had 26 or 28 penguins across the beach, and it was brilliant. And it's just because those are the penguins who are desperate to come home, and they were like, you know what, we'll figure it out. We don't need our landmarks. We're better than that. We'll work it out when we get there. Whereas the more sensible penguins are like, we'll just come back tomorrow and hope the fog's not there. And that's something we've noticed on other days as well. When there's, I noticed it when we had the bushfires. So when we had big bushfires in 2019, there was a few days where the wind had blown it all over Melbourne, and we got it here as well. And it wasn't as thick as the fog that night, but there was definitely a dramatic difference in the penguin numbers. Again, I think it went from about 600 to 800 to about 200 to 300, because a lot of them just couldn't see their landmarks, and they didn't feel safe being able to find their way home. So they're just like, well, just come back tomorrow. Whereas the very least we've ever had was 8 penguins. And again, that was another foggy night. What are you doing? You just had a bit of a go at these other penguins. Oh, I swear they hear me sometimes, Sue. They're like, no, you're not looking at me. They're so rude to me. Okay, we're gonna slowly get ready to stop talking. Eventually, maybe. We'll think about it. There's no penguins there. Rude. Do we have any more questions, Sue, as I start to consider wrapping up?
Okay.
Okay.
I can read one straight off the screen.
Beautiful.
Lou would like to know, would parents feed other birds chicks if their parents did not come home for that evening?
So no, unfortunately.
It says, but she meant to say fog. Haha, someone said. Haha, fog, she said.
I do that all the time. Unfortunately, the penguins are very selfish, and they really only have their own and their own family's best interests at heart. So no, if something happens to the parents of a different family and they've got chicks, those, depending on the age of the chicks, if they're older, they might be able to survive on just one parent's food source. Whereas if the chicks are really young, then they wouldn't be able to. But, what is happening there? Someone is being silly, I think, possibly. All right, I'll go somewhere else since that camera, someone was being naughty. But if it's just fog, generally those chicks are going to be fine waiting till the next day for food. Like, it's not going to be a huge deal if they go one day without food. It's generally if it's going to be a couple of days if they're really young, or I believe 5 days without food is what I heard was the longest, as the chicks get older, that they can go without food before it becomes a real problem to them. But unfortunately, we have 32,000 penguins here on Phillip Island, so even if we had every single nest laid out and mapped out and we could access them to feed them, it would just be impossible to do that. And it wouldn't be in the penguins' best interest. If we wanted to supplement feed the penguins, okay, why is there a foot there? That's not cool. If we were to supplement feed the penguins, they'd just go out to the ocean for the first time when they fledge, and then they'd starve then instead, because the reason that they probably haven't had enough food as chicks is because the adults couldn't get them enough food, and there's be food shortage in the ocean. Okay, I don't want to end on sad because that's just upsetting. Do we have a happy question, or am I going to have to make up happy things? This penguin is really fat. That's happy. Fat penguins make me happy. Oh, that was a big seagull right there. Okay, well, let's talk about fat penguins, because fat penguins are the best. So right now, the penguins, it's really cool. The penguins, they fish until they've got about half of their body weight in fish in their bellies, and that's when it's cue to come home. So when the chicks are really young, they get that much food really nice and quick. As it gets older, they can sort of slow down their swimming and really just relax their shopping before they come home to feed their chicks. And what I'm really excited to see is, now that I get to do this role for the live stream, is I'm excited to get to watch and see penguin chicks harass the adults. So penguin chicks are so cheeky. They either don't know or they pretend not to know who their parents are. So they go up to every adult and beg for food. And as you can imagine, this is a pretty major highway. So all of the chicks who live around here and live on the other side of the pond, they all harass every single penguin that comes past and beg them for food. And I swear, the penguins who live up to 2 kilometers away from the beach, they must be so sick of penguin chicks by the time they get home and have to feed their own chicks, because they've been harassed all night for food. And it's just a lot of fun listening to them go beep, 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 begging for food. So I don't know, that's one of my favorite things to watch about. All right, we might end here on this raft, but we will be back on Monday. So we're going to keep doing our Monday, Wednesday, Saturdays at the moment. And again, Monday at 7:30, 7:40-ish, depending on the clouds and penguin behaviours, as we go into daylight savings. And that's it for me.
That's a wrap.
That's a wrap. All right. Sue, do you join in Huckos?
Oh, absolutely.
Oh, good to hear. All right, guys. Thank you very much.
Thanks, everyone.